A friend of mine recently sent me a job proposal. It was one that I declined pretty much immediately because he lives in a town called Echuca, which is in Victoria, Australia, and he sent me this job application to be a snake catcher. A snake catcher. Me? Now I love wildlife, I love the nature, I love that sort of thing, but I just can't see myself being a snake catcher. And my friend, he works in a local school in Echuca as a caretaker, and his job is to make sure all the grounds, the school grounds and buildings are safe for children to come into. And so, snakes are a bit of a problem. And so he's regularly on the lookout for snakes. He clears away areas that snakes might like to live in, and he puts up nets and fences around the school property to stop snakes getting in. And he prepares a safe place for little children. I want to hear that word again. He prepares ahead, all right? Prepares a safe place for little children. I think this is a wonderful illustration of providential care. And so, have you ever had someone prepare somewhere where safe for you? Okay, say if you're going to see Aunt Mildred, we've all got an Aunt Mildred, and you're going to stay the night. And she will most likely prepare in advance. She may make the bed, make some cookies, make some food, and if she lived in Echuca, probably make sure there's no snakes around either. And so when you arrive at Aunt Mildred's, you are welcomed into what she has already prepared. And you may feel a little bit embarrassed by the fuss that she has put into this welcome, but you really feel loved, cared for, and welcomed. Now, probably the most read psalm in the Bible, probably read billions of people now since it was written first by a little shepherd boy in Israel, is Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. For though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. And at the time when David would have written this pastoral scene of shepherding care would have been very familiar to the listeners of those ancient days. They had a lot of connection with sheep and agriculture, and they would have been familiar with lots of terms within that psalm. But very few of us have a deep connection with sheep these days. Saying that though, my very first job was on a sheep farm, and on this particular farm, the farmer was quite advanced in his thinking about how to look after sheep. And one of the tasks he gave me to do was to go and to monitor the level of this fungus, and I'll try and pronounce it, Pythomyces chartarum, growing in the pasture. And if you come over to the blog page, which there's a link at the bottom of the show notes, you'll see a picture of these tiny, tiny little fungi spores. And these fungi grow in warm, moist conditions in the base of the pasture. So where there's a little bit of trash, they grow, and it's got to be warm and moist, and they just really grow quite fast. And what they release is a toxin called sporidosmin. Okay, and when the sheep eat this in, the spores can damage the sheep's liver, and when that happens, the face of the sheep get eczema, and skin begins to peel off, and there's a swelling, and the ears go droopy, and there's kind of a restlessness. It's a horrible sight to see, and I remember quite powerfully seeing sheep with facial eczema. It's an awful looking thing. And I've got a picture of that in my blog post as well. But my task was to go out into the pastures, collect some soil samples and some pasture samples, bring them back and put them under a microscope and count the number of spores. All right, then I go off and do another paddock and see what that was like. So what that meant was I was going to be able to say, okay, this particular paddock is not safe for the sheep to go into. There's too much of this fungi in it. This particular paddock, yeah, it's got less or hardly any. This is a safer place to go. In essence, I was checking for snakes, all right, microscopic ones. I was preparing a place for vulnerable sheep to graze. I was preparing a table. Now, popular understanding of Psalm 23 verse 5 is, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, is that the table refers to what we would normally sit down and eat at. I've got one, most people have got a kitchen table. You sit down and eat your meals, do jigsaw puzzles on. I don't know. But yeah, I have never, ever, ever seen a sheep sit at a table. Now, saying that, over on the blog post, I've got a picture of a sheep in front of a table with full of food, and it's been created by artificial intelligence. It's a complete fake. But so often we think, oh, God's preparing me a table of wine and food and lusciousness. Nothing could be further from the truth. All right? David was playing with words a little bit, because he would have known the word tableland. And in the Bible, tablelands often symbolize stability, abundance, divine provision. They're elevated, okay, so these are lands that are higher up, all right, and they're flat. Their elevated nature can represent a place of closeness to God, as seen in the Psalms, where the psalmist speaks of a God setting a table in the presence of enemies. This image conveys a sense of security and blessing, akin to the fertile and protected nature of a plateau. So that's I've just quoted from a Tablelands Bible Hub. So a good shepherd, he would go ahead of the flock, maybe months before, and prepare that tableland. So he would go in, he'd make sure all the water holes were clear, so it'd be a nice cup of cool water, a cup, not flowing fast rivers, but a cup. And any poisonous weeds, they'd be removed. Snakes and predators, they'd be removed, or there'd be fenced, protected of this. And all of this would be happening, of course, in the full view of wolves and snakes and predators. They'd be seeing what was going on. The enemies of the sheep would see that a shepherd was coming ahead, preparing safe places for them. Now, in my own life, I'm not looking for a table covered in food and drink from toxic prosperity teaching. No. I'm more looking for the simple provision of what is needed for the day. And I'm so keen every day just to look ahead and say, what has the shepherd prepared for me to meet my sheepy needs? How has the shepherd gone ahead and prepared for me? I was thinking of the Psalm too. Open your mouth and taste. Open your eyes and see how good God is. Blessed are you who run to him. Worship God if you want the best. Worship opens doors to all his goodness. Here's a poem. It's called You Go Ahead. You go ahead, a pathway to clear. You go ahead, a table to prepare. It's a flat place where I can rest, free of all predators, tableland soul's request. You're freeing that place of wolves and snakes. You're going ahead, there's no mistake. You're right beside rotten staff comfort still. I look back and see where you've been. It's a millimetre walk to change my point of view. I'm stubborn and resistant, old ram, old you. May I see in evidence today how you've stepped out in front, preparing me the way. I'll focus my attention on gifts given today, thanking you for the manna left along the way. Help me to trust you've got it all in hand. You're going ahead, predator-free flat land. You go ahead, you prepare a place. Help me see today your providential grace. Hey, if this has helped you in some way, giving you some trust for the next day, can you send me an email, leave me a comment? Barry@turningthepage.co.nz. I'm also going to be soon running a little class about anxiety. It's called Steps to Reducing Your Anxiety. And if you'd like to find out more about that, make sure you're on my email list. It's the email people who get the good stuff. So get on my email list. There's a link down below to get, or just come over to the blog, the link in the blog there, and join the list. And I'll be sending out email reminders about the course that's coming up. But for the moment, I pray that you would today just be open to how the shepherd has gone ahead of you and prepared a table, a flat place for you to rest. Bye.